I'm Alan Spears with Occupy Democrats, and in some hilarious breaking news, Pete Buttigieg, the U.S. Secretary of Transportation and potential running mate to Kamala Harris, just went on to Fox to do an interview where they tried to do a series of different gotcha questions, but it horribly backfired. Now, as I just mentioned, Buttigieg is indeed one of the top names listed to potentially be Harris's running mate come this November, and it would seem that he is wasting absolutely no time as he's pretty much stepped into the spotlight for several days now, conducting a wide range of different interviews and giving his thoughts on President Biden stepping down and the future President Kamala Harris stepping up. Now, unlike pretty much all Republicans right now, Buttigieg is incredibly well composed and a fantastic orator and is known for being able to stay calm under some pretty intense and stressful situations and interviews. In fact, we've recently seen that Buttigieg had the perfect response to an interview done by J.D. Vance a number of years ago where he accused Buttigieg of not having a vested interest in the country because he doesn't have any children.
You know, the really sad thing is he said that after Chasten and I had been through a fairly heartbreaking setback in our adoption journey. He couldn't have known that, but maybe that's why you shouldn't be talking about other people's children. And it's not about his kids or my kids or the vice president's family. It's about your family, people's families whose well-being will depend on whether we go into a future led by somebody like Kamala Harris, who is focused on expanding the prosperity, the freedom, the well-being of our families.
And that is just a small sampling of Buttigieg and his ability to have an incredibly well thought out response. Now I'm going to show you a couple of clips from an interview he did earlier, and in this first clip you're going to see that Fox News really tries to press him on the whole overturning of Roe v. Wade and the whole abortion rights issue. And in typical Fox News fashion, they try to paint Donald Trump and the Supreme Court's decision to kick the whole abortion rights issue down to the state level in a good light, but it completely backfires on them as Buttigieg has the perfect response. Take a look and see for yourself what he had to say.
Whether we're talking about choice and her stance on defending a woman's right to choose versus Donald Trump, who eliminated a right to choose in this country.
Well, he sent it back to the states, to be fair.
Let's be very clear. He is proud of the fact that he demolished the national right to choose in this country, period.
But there are states that are figuring this out. I mean, there are some that are, it's nearly impossible, a 6-week ban or less. But there are others, there are states in this country that allow no restrictions up until the due date of a child.
There was a national right to choose in this country, law of the land, for 50 years, which the vast majority of Americans believed was the right thing to do. But Donald Trump made a promise when he was a candidate, one of the few promises he actually kept, by the way. You know, he didn't keep his promise of 6% economic growth. He didn't keep his promise to drain the swamp.
He did have a pandemic to deal with.
But even before the pandemic, America went into a manufacturing recession, which really hurt places like where I come from in the industrial Midwest. But anyway, my point is, he broke his promise for that kind of economic growth. He broke his promise to pass an infrastructure bill, right? He said he would do that. He failed to do it. The Biden-Harris administration got it done. He even broke his promise to that January 6th mob when he said, I will be at your side when you march down to the Capitol. But he actually did keep two promises. He kept his promise to destroy the right to choose in this country, and he kept his promise on tax cuts for the rich. And if you want to know what a second Trump term would be like, I would start by looking at those rare promises that he actually managed to keep.
He did say that he wanted to get rid of Roe v. Wade, but again, send it to the states where they are hashing this out
empower the states to eliminate women's access to abortion. And also, as you know, the Republican Party continues to be interested in a national abortion ban.
Which he's disavowed completely.
Yeah, he's disavowed a lot of things. I don't believe him. Because he lies all the time.
You think that his pledge that he would not pass a national ban is one that
it's one that's going to go down with most of the promises that he's made and broken.
I absolutely adore this man's ability to just remain calm and concise as he dismantles Fox News and their ridiculous questions. And he is absolutely right. Donald Trump is a man of broken and false promises. He will not do nearly half of the things that he promises to his base that he will do. Oh sure, he'll promise the Republicans the world and say that he'll pass any number of different things, enact Project 2025, that one I'm actually worried he might do, pass, like he said, a nationwide abortion ban, but I think when it comes down to it, Trump isn't really interested in doing much of anything that doesn't immediately suit his own wants and needs. Now, it is in this second clip that I want to show you that Buttigieg absolutely shines as this Fox News host tries to get the gotcha question to him and tries to trip him up, but in classic Buttigieg fashion, he remains composed and completely dismantles the Fox News host and her question and the very premise it is predicated on. So see for yourself how Buttigieg completely eviscerates the hypocrisy that has become so deeply embedded in Donald Trump and the Republican Party.
Of how he was doing.
We're all aware of how he's doing. Our country has watched our president lead. And yes, we've also seen the fact that he's 10 years older than he was 10 years ago. But unlike Republicans, right, who in Trump's personality cult will take a look at Donald Trump and say he's perfectly fine, even though he seemed unable to tell the difference between Nikki Haley and Nancy Pelosi, even though he's rambling about electrocuting sharks and Hannibal Lecter, even though he is clearly older and stranger than he was when America first got to know him. They say he's strong as an ox, leaps tall buildings in a single bound.
Well,
we don't have that kind of warped reality on our side.
Well, voters...
on the contrary, the president confronted that reality in what must have been one of the most difficult decisions for an American president to make ever. And he did something that I don't think Donald Trump could even conceive of doing, which is putting his own interests aside for the country.
Once again, perfectly articulated and spot on. And Buttigieg is completely right. The Democrats, unlike the Republicans, do seem to possess the ability to stop and have a moment of self-reflection, rather than doubling or tripling or even quadrupling down on the heinous rhetoric that Donald Trump constantly spews. Democrats pause for a moment, and if the leaders of the party say something that the rest of us might not agree with, or is think maybe there's a better way of approaching a particular situation, well, we are capable of that sort of self-assessment and reflection and even adjusting or course-correcting. Something that the Republicans seem incapable of realizing or admitting is that it is not weakness to admit when you've made a mistake and are wrong. And I do believe that this is fully embodied and represented by the very fact that President Biden, he listened to his constituents. He listened to fellow congressional Democrats and their concerns with both his age and his ability to rally Democrats around him into the election. I have absolutely no doubt it was an incredibly difficult decision, and frankly, the very fact that he was open and receptive to the conversation and did ultimately decide to step down shows wonders about his character and his willingness to serve the country and put its needs over his own sort of ego and desire to have some sort of legacy. But make no mistake, President Biden's legacy is one of incredibly successful legislation. The fact that President Biden was willing to make that level of self-sacrifice and had the courage to step down and allow people like Kamala Harris and Pete Buttigieg to rise up and kind of step out into the limelight has done wonders for the party overall. Where frankly, just a few months ago, there was a lot of dread and concern over the election and over Democrats' ability to perform come this November. Now I'm seeing an energy and a positivity and a sense of hope that has been missing for some time now and is honestly not been seen since probably President Obama's first campaign. By my own estimation, it would seem that Donald Trump was a result of the kind of festering rot that had went unnoticed and undiagnosed in our society, in our culture. And when he came to power, it showed that we still have a lot of work left to do. And now with people like Kamala Harris and people like Pete Buttigieg, we're seeing this revitalization, this energy of hope within the Democratic Party and this recognition that while, yes, Donald Trump may have revealed some of the more ugly parts of our country and of the many problems that we still need to address, it is not without hope. It is with people like Kamala Harris and potentially a running mate, Pete Buttigieg. These are the kinds of people, these are the kinds of leaders that can take us into a better tomorrow and help us overcome the hurdles that we have seemingly really struggled with the past few years. Now again, as of this recording, it has yet to be announced who Harris is going to ultimately tap for her running mate. However, if she does ultimately go with Buttigieg, I do not think she is going to regret it in the slightest. But of course, the single most important determining factor of who will ultimately be the president or the vice president of the United States is you and your vote. So again, please, if you have not registered to vote, please get out there and register and mark your calendars. Tuesday, November 5th. That is going to be the big day.